So, Mal, what was the inspiration for your program?
We had been working with the Atherton men's shed for some time, probably 2.5 years, as a community health nurse. And we came to the end of 2020 and started to consider perhaps incorporating some physical activity programs into the work that we did with them. They were pretty keen, and we started to have a conversation, I guess, around what might be an idea or what might be options for them to include physical activity into their general program.
And why were you thinking that physical activity was a priority? Was it something that was clearly lacking, or did they express an interest in wanting to do more of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, both, Callum. I visit the shed probably once a fortnight, mingle with the fellas, talk to them about health issues. But I also meet with their executive fairly regularly, and just to get a feel for what are the health priorities. And the guys had expressed to me a number of times that they wanted to incorporate physical activity into what they do at the shed. Part of their charter is around a range of health issues, mental health, physical health. And we were doing some low-level stuff with that, but we wanted to introduce some structured physical activity program to offer a range of health options for them.
And what sort of age range are you talking about with the guys there?
Yeah, predominantly they are retirement age, over 65, but there's a scattering of younger fellas in their 30s and 40s, perhaps who might not be working, might have a range of disabilities who come along to the shed for companionship, for support. So while most of them are elderly guys, there are a few younger guys in amongst them.
And did those guys feel like perhaps they weren't so comfortable working out in other environments outside of the men's shed, or they'd had bad experiences in the past, or they just needed a bit of a kick up the arse from someone to get them to do it?
Yeah, interesting. You asked that, Callum, because some of the feedback that we've had about the program says that, or the guys have told us that they've tried other physical activity programs, they've gone to gyms, they've sourced exercise physiologists, but one of the challenges is they find that if perhaps they have to sign up for a certain program, it might be for a certain number of weeks. If they miss a week, they feel guilty because, they can't really give a legitimate reason. Perhaps they just wanted a week off or a day off.
Yep.
Or sometimes they might have other commitments. So the appeal of a reasonably unstructured program was attractive to the guys.
And how did you find they responded from the start and then gradually as it went on?
Yeah, again, very interesting. When we had the initial meetings, and I've got some photographs of us sitting around the table talking it through, a lot of the guys had their heads down. They weren't overly optimistic about the future of the program, what it might look like, and its sustainability. However, the executive or the management committee were pretty keen to press forward with it. We had some funding from the local council to get it up and running, so they wanted to give it a try. One of the really interesting things about it was that my professional background is in primary healthcare and research, and I had in my head running this 16-week structured program, taking measurements of the guys at the beginning of the program and then measuring them again at the end of the program, and I guess being able to monitor and to clearly define some outcomes. Well, they threw that out the window at about week 1 and 2. It has really been a lesson in what we call primary healthcare. What they have done is they have determined how the program should run. A lot of banter, a lot of laughter, fun, a level of seriousness because they are exercising, but the freedom of being able to be involved and participate at their own personal and particular levels has really been a success of the program.
And Mal, when you say that they threw that out the window,
Yeah.
do you mean that they decided that really it was more about the journey than the result, and they didn't want to think about that too much?
I think you're right. For a lot of the guys, they're not in the best physical condition. So putting expectations on them to achieve certain goals was perhaps unrealistic. It was something that I thought we should do, but they don't necessarily set goals for themselves. They turn up, and we started initially with about 27 guys registering. Regularly now we have 18 guys, and this is, well, into September, and we started in January, and every week they continue to turn up.
That's pretty good retention over that long of a period of time, because you're talking about 9 months of consistent training. How often a week are they getting out and training together?
Yeah, so we meet every Wednesday morning. We had a session this morning at 8 o'clock, and there were another group of fellas who were cyclists in town who joined the group. Wednesday doesn't suit them, so they now meet on a Monday morning. And there are other guys who hadn't been members of the men's shed, and just through word of mouth in a rural community now come along. So they're joined up with the shed and starting to participate in the physical activity program.
Because I suppose the main thing you guys want is to ensure that they continue to rock up and they make it into a habit and into a lifestyle, and that's actually more important than perhaps stronger results over a 12-week period, is trying to inspire men to feel comfortable exercising and to want to do it and make it part of their lives.
Very much so, Callum. Any exercise is better than no exercise. There are some guys who are quite vigorous with their exercising, and that's great. And there are other guys that do minimal amount. And one of the things that's been really important about the program is perhaps having myself, one as a male, but also a nurse, and I mingle with the guys. We play rock and roll music, so there's a bit of atmosphere while they're doing the exercise. But they'll talk to me about how they're feeling, about other health issues, and if they've got any particular concerns with particular exercises. So we've been able to adapt the program to individual needs. And I think of one guy in particular who is a gentleman in his late 70s, and he was a train driver all his life. And before the program, he couldn't lift his arms above shoulder height. Anyway, he just wanted to come along, walk to the shed, join the experience of the exercises. But we've found him a job now where he holds lollipops up with a start, a stop, and a go. So the exercise for a minute, and he lifts one up and lifts the other one up. Right. And now that's increased the range of movement for him and freed up his shoulders. Okay. And that itself's been a really personalised advantage for one individual.
Yeah, cool. What sort of other exercises are you doing with the group? Is it a lot of cardio-based stuff, running and that sort of thing, or are you using bowls and trying to make it as fun as possible?
Yeah, so there is a exercise, it's called an age-friendly exercise park in Atherton, and it was designed by a local exercise physiologist, particularly for elderly people. So it's counterbalanced push-up material. There are about 12 stations with different apparatus that they use. Yep. Some of the guys use some of them and some of the guys choose not to. But they also have a range of other activities that they do using perhaps therabands, so stretching. And we've just recently, in the last couple of weeks, incorporated a Tai Chi. I can teach some Tai Chi, which we used to use as a warm-up, cool down, but now some of the guys are wanting a bit more diversity, so they do a 20-minute Tai Chi session prior to the exercise program.
Awesome. How does that look out there?
That looks fantastic. In fact, I was saying to one of my colleagues this morning, I wish I had a GoPro, because there's a little session at the end where they're doing a reflection, and I have some nice Chinese music going. And when you open your eyes, there are these guys and dressed in everything that is not Tai Chi. They've got fishing gear, they've got work gear, they've got heavy boots, they've got work boots, they've got, some guys are got lycra, everything that you shouldn't wear when you do Tai Chi. But the great message in this is the guys feel safe. There's no reason for them to feel uncomfortable with any of the clobber that they wear.
Yeah, so no one feels judged and everyone's happy to hang it all out there. How have you created that sort of welcoming environment for everyone?
Yeah, so one of the things which I think is really important with working with men is trust and the men feeling safe. So I've been working with these guys probably 2.5 years. I write a health segment for their newsletter. I'm regularly at the shed. I talk to them about health issues that perhaps they wouldn't normally raise with other people. And I've been doing that for a long period of time. So when it came to doing this program, they trusted myself and our service. And I think that's a really important ingredient in working with men.
Without focusing so much perhaps on the body weight goals or the waistline, that sort of thing, what improvements have you seen? How have the participants changed over the months?
Yeah, again, good question, Callum. I think one of the biggest indicators is that it's maintained momentum, that they're enjoying it, that it's been sustainable. There's individual participants who've had certain health issues that have been able to increase range of movement. There's a couple of guys who've had knee replacements. There's guys who've had hip replacements, guys with significant heart or lung conditions that have, minimised their physical activity. They've certainly become much more mobile, much freer in their movement, and they comment individually to me about how they can now walk upstairs unaided. They can walk longer distances.
Longevity seems like a big focus, and that must be a top priority for guys, especially of that age, where it's not necessarily as much about how they look, although I'm sure they've made some improvements in that regard, but they just want to feel better. They want to be able to get around better. And as your body starts to fail you a bit as you get older, you want to do whatever you can to counter that. And that's going to improve your quality of life, because no one's having fun if they can't move around properly.
Absolutely, yeah.
So would you say that's what sets your program apart, is that environment, focusing on the fun of it and the connection, and less on the hardcore results end of things, and how that's perhaps having a different impact?
Look, I think that's the key element, Carol. These guys own this program. They come and go as they like, but they continue to come. They're talking to other men about coming to join the program. Nobody asks them where they were last week or why they won't be there the following week. And that level of freedom, I think, has been key.
It sounds, Mal, like you're saying men don't like being told what to do.
Look, I really think it boils down to that. And I think having another male facilitating the program is helpful, but they want to run the program the way that they do.
So who else is in your team? Who's helping you operationally with it?
So initially, really there were 4 services involved. So Atherton Community Health, myself as a clinical nurse, and I have a couple of colleagues, lady colleagues or female colleagues who work with me. There were weeks I couldn't make it. They went down to the exercise park to help supervise. Carla, the exercise physiologist, designed the exercises, and she and I monitored some of the health parameters. Then there's a key guy with the men's shed who's taken ownership of the program. And then we had a health promotions officer with the regional council. So it was a collaborative effort of 4 services. But the goal all along, and of course one of the criteria of the funding, was that this program would be sustainable. So we finished up in June, and essentially we handed the program back to the guys. And at this stage, it's continued on and continues to grow. I continue to attend, but my goal is I can ease out and the fellas at the shed can continue to run the program without external support.
Yeah, so they drive it themselves, and that's how it
Yeah.
can be long-lasting. Is it
Yeah.
something that's easy enough or possible to recreate for other men's sheds in other areas? I mean, it sounds like there's a few components there, yourself being a nurse and some of the other people who've been involved, that might not be all that easy to coordinate. What do you think the potential is for other men's sheds to do something similar? Because I'm sure with the success of your program that they'd be interested in doing that.
Yeah, look, I think it certainly is sustainable. There are some key elements. Having the exercise park so close to the shed, it's about 50 metres away. So the fellas just walk up from the shed. The key elements are, I guess, for it to be undercover, to be accessible, and to have someone to get them initially started, to give them some guidance around some of the limitations of some exercises. But there's no reason why a physiotherapist or an exercise physiologist couldn't design specific exercises or even translate the exercises that we use to other settings.
What have they been like in terms of encouraging each other along the way? Have you seen a lot of those relationships develop more so than perhaps they could have with just talking? Because we know men bond a lot over physical exercise.
Yeah, I agree. That's been a really key positive outcome. Some of the guys who perhaps were less capable at the beginning have been encouraged by other guys, keeping each other going, motivating each other, and really just chatting together as a group. We had some concerns initially because there's a long walking park that runs alongside the exercise park. And I had some concerns that the guys might feel a bit self-conscious or even, perhaps even embarrassed about exercising in public where other folk could see them. But quite the contrary has been the outcome. They feel proud that people see them doing something and taking responsibility. It's been a really positive aspect, and perhaps an aspect that I hadn't anticipated.
And I'm sure that whoever they have that are onlookers are a bit surprised to see the Tai Chi, but it would bring a smile to their face and probably encourage them to think about doing it themselves, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's been unexpected along the way with all this?
Yeah, I guess the impact of COVID and how we managed that. We had responsibility as a health service and as a community to manage that. And I was concerned that that might be a catalyst for the guys to just say, oh, it's too hard. But they've embraced it. The thing that sticks out to me most is that you've got to have some structure. Initially, I thought, we'd monitor the guys for 16 weeks. I had advised them, they needed to turn up with jogger-style shoes, perhaps tracky pants, a T-shirt, that kind of thing, sun smart, right? And this was the sort of clothing that you wear when you're exercising. Again, they said, stuff that.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm turning up in my work boots. I'm turning up in my high-vis shirt. I'm turning up the cyclists in their lycra, other guys in their fishing gear. There's a guy who wears an Akubra hat, and to do bench presses, he can fit his Akubra, but he never takes it off.
It doesn't get any more masculine than that, I reckon.
Exactly, yeah. It's just amazing, and the guys just feel comfortable because nobody's saying, oh, you can't wear that, or you shouldn't have your hat on, and fishing gear's not quite right to be exercising in. Yep. My premise and our premise is you're there, you exercise within your own capabilities, you have fun, you turn up if you want to turn up, you don't if you don't, and nobody's going to ask a question why or why not.
What do you think's happening there when you allow men to really do it the way that they want to do it rather than instantly put up a wall or make it harder in any way than I suppose it needs to be?
men feeling safe in a flexible, adaptable environment are the key sort of elements to this. Yeah.
Great. I think for anyone who's thinking about starting up something similar, those are some really key points to try and remember and have in your mind that perhaps you want to come at it from a point of view of wanting to make men feel comfortable first and making sure that they want to rock up again, because there's no way anyone's coming if they don't think it's fun and they don't think it suits them. What's your goal with it now? So you got 18 blokes doing it consistently at the moment. Is it an aim of yours to continue to try and expand that?
So probably, given the size of the park, Callum, that's optimal number. The facility wouldn't accommodate too many more than about 18, maybe 20. When we first started...
Is that a problem at all? Because do you have any more who want to join but you don't have space for them?
Yeah. So what we would do is to set another time. As I say, it has grown, but the group of cyclists now come on a Monday morning. I've started the Tai Chi. So there is a group of guys. We had 18 guys this morning. Some come just for the Tai Chi session and then leave. Others do both sessions. So we're starting to introduce a few alternatives for them. But I would never turn fellas away. It's about being able to accommodate them safely and comfortably. So it's just perfect at the moment. There are absolutely no signs of the momentum fading. It continues to be really well supported. They keep coming up with new jokes and new banter, which is wonderful. And they themselves comment to us on how appreciative they are that they've now got this program that they run themselves.
It's absolutely brilliant stuff, mate. And lastly, how's it made you feel to be able to be one of the people who's driven this and made a substantial change in some of these guys' lives and made them believe in themselves?
I guess my gratitude comes from seeing the guys improve. I've been involved and been passionate about men's health for probably over 20 years and been involved in a range of programs, particularly with rural men. So to see a program where the guys have really determined the outcome of the program and how it's going to work and how effective it's going to be has been really satisfying. As a health professional, to see the improvements in men's physical and mental health is really exciting. And for our team and for a small rural community, probably 10,000 people, to win a national award has been a wonderful outcome for this community. And I guess demonstrates that when men's health initiatives are built from the ground up, they can be really successful. And I guess that's where the satisfaction comes from.
Fantastic, mate, and congratulations on that award, and then also particularly on creating such a successful program when, you know, you're taking a bit of a stab in the dark initially. There's a whole lot of unknowns, things that you can't necessarily control, and then you have to try and find a way to string it all together anyway, which you've obviously done. And I think it's just fantastic that you've found a way to combine the mental health stuff with the physical health stuff, with a bit of the spiritual health stuff, because having that combination is really a much more comprehensive package that keeps the guys coming back and helps them in so many ways. That's obviously making a huge difference. So pat yourself on the back and everyone involved in the program as well. And I hope to see you guys keep it going and keep it growing. I'm sure you will.
Wonderful. Thanks, Callum. Thanks for the opportunity, and certainly thanks to Australian Men's Health Forum as well. Each of the guys, I think, individually get something different out of this program, but collectively it strengthened the work of the men's shed, certainly in our little township.
Brilliant, mate. Love your work.